Hello guys! Welcome to the first ever Honkai Star Rail video. I have been blessed with being invited to be a part of the final Honkai Star Rail beta, and thus I felt it would be a great idea to share some things you want to know before you play it. So there are two things that are really important to know when it comes to characters, and that is their path or class as some might call it, and their element. The Destruction are damage dealers who excel at surviving. The Hunt are damage dealers who excel at single target damage and bosses. The Irradiation are your AoE damage dealers. The Harmony is your buffers. The Nihility are your debuffers. The Preservation are like your shielders who can use counterattacks or just give people shields. And the Abundance are those who heal your allies and restore HP to them. There are 7 elements in Honkai Star Rail, just like there is in Genshin: physical, fire, ice, lightning, wind, quantum, and imaginary. The elements are really only here for breaking enemy weaknesses, and I'll talk about that more later. Just like any modern JRPG today, you can choose between male and female main character, but just like in Genshin, they have different animations, so choose wisely. Later on, via story progression, you will be allowed to switch the main character's element and path to a different type. When you do, you're also going to have to switch your light cone because light cones are path specific. Now you're probably wondering what light cones are, and those are just the weapons of this game. You might be wondering how free-to-play friendly this game is in comparison to Genshin, and honestly I think it feels even better than Genshin in terms of who you get and like the coverage of units. The free characters you get in this game all feel good to play and fit the roles they're supposed to play really well. I found myself building way more characters in this game just to beat the content than I did in Genshin, because in Genshin you can use like 1 or 2 characters and you're fine. But in this game it feels like having multiple characters built is actually worth it. For example, one of the free characters you get right now is this character I have on the screen right now. I don't know how to pronounce her name, so I'm not going to try and butcher it. She is your free AoE quantum damage dealer who relies on RNG to do damage. Every time it's her turn, she tries to draw matching tiles to do the damage. You get her from completing Forgotten Hall floor free, just like you get Jangling from doing Spiral Abyss. The other free characters you get are also really good. Dan Heng is a single target boss killer who will save you a lot of time during 1v1 situations. Serval is your Zinnia, no I'm just kidding. Serval is your AoE electric damage dealer. She's a character we get for free thanks to the pre-registration rewards being met. Herta is another free character we get. You can get her by beating the Stimulated Universe 1 time, which is like a roguelike mode in this game, which I think is a really fun and addicting mode, but it might not be for some other people. It just depends if you like a challenge or not. Asta is someone that you'll be guaranteed to get because she's your first summon. She's summon locked with the Gacha system. She's going to be your pyro support character who speeds you up, and since this is a turn-based game, speed is super important to who goes first. And lastly, we have March 7th. March 7th is really good early game for elite enemies that would otherwise one-shot your characters if you're not prepared for them. She has the ability to shield a character, and then if that character is attacked, she counterattacks for them. So let's talk about the gacha, seeing as this is a gacha game. There's different variety from 3 stars ranging to 5 stars, just like in Genshin. Blue is, of course, a 3 star. Purple is a 4 star. And then, of course, yellow is a 5 star. And in Honkai Star Rail, the music and animation does change when you get a 5 star. The beginner banner is extremely nice, seeing as you get a guaranteed 5 star after 50 pulls for 20% off, and with all the pre-registration rewards, I wouldn't be surprised if some people get their first 5 star the day the game comes out. The characters who are on the beginner banner are all standard banner characters, and if I had to recommend anyone you try to go for, I'd say go for Bronya. She is literally one of my favorite characters that I've gotten. Also, something that's a little different in this game than in Genshin is that you can also get the standard characters that you get for free on the banner too, which is nice. You don't have to just go for the shop every time like with some other characters. Honkai Star Rail has the same pity as Genshin for the limited and standard banner, but the weapon banner is a little bit different. For the weapon banner, there's only one weapon on it, so it's 75-20, and you're more likely to get the weapon you want. Also, if you're wondering where the last 5% is, well...
I don't know. I never counted. I am not really a math guy, you know?
And of course, on the limited banner, you can lose to 50-50. Also, I almost forgot, but the standard banner in Honkai Star Rail is so much better than the one in Genshin because after 300 pulls, you are guaranteed to pull a 5-star that you want, because you get to pick and choose. So now I want to talk a little bit more about combat. Before you fight an enemy, you can see an enemy's weakness above their head in order to hit their weakness and break their shield and give yourself an advantage during battle. When an enemy is broken, they will take more damage and will also delay their actions. The break mechanic in this game reminds me a lot of Persona and Octopath Traveler, where if you have the enemy's weakness, it's a lot easier to kill some enemies, but if you don't have the weakness, then it's going to take a lot longer to beat them. In Honkai Star Rail, when you empty the enemy's toughness bar, which is like the giant shield, the break effect happens. First you do break damage. This damage scales with break effect. To make it simple, basically, this calculates the enemy's defense, enemy resistance, and your character level, and then it applies the element of specific DOT for 2 turns. DOT is damage over time, by the way. When you break an enemy's shield, they're going to be in the down state. They receive like 10% extra damage. If the enemy you are attacking doesn't have an elemental weakness of the same type as your character, the damage he receives is reduced by 20%. Of course, there's also some enemies that have high resistance to some elements. They're usually elite enemies, but sometimes they can be normal enemies too. Also, you can use resistant penetration to lower the enemy's resistance. When it comes to breaking enemies, they all have different effects, and as of right now, my favorite one is Imaginary. When you break an enemy with Imaginary, the enemy becomes imprisoned, and imprisoned enemies suffered from delayed actions and also speed reduction, so their turn takes way longer to happen. I have Welt, and his skills make it so that it stacks on even more with slows from his skills. And I'm pretty sure in the future, there's going to be a lot of people who have Welt, and they're going to make slow team comps that make it so that the enemies can't even move or take a turn. Quantum breaks are a little like Imaginary because they slow enemies down when they're broken, but it also does quantum damage over time. Ice is pretty simple. It's just as you'd imagine it to be, being able to freeze enemies and dealing ice damage over time. The rest of the elements are all kind of the same, just with different elements. Lightning breaks apply shock, which is lightning damage over time. Fire breaks apply burn, which is burn damage over time. Wind applies wind shear effect, dealing wind damage over time. And physical applies bleed effect, which is physical damage over time. If you look to the bottom right of the screen, you'll see these things called skill points. Skill points are what let your character use special skills. Every time you use a skill, you lose 1 skill point, and if you want to get more skill points, then you have to use some normal attacks. If you're not careful with them, you can end up accidentally using them all before a character like your healer might need it to heal your team. Also, when your character uses a skill, they will generate more energy so that they can get their ultimate faster. You might find yourself in a situation where you have one character who has the weakness of the boss, and so you need their skill to break the shield way faster. So then you'd use their skill to break it, so you'd save up all your skill points just for that one character. So learning to manage your skill points is important to winning fights. The maximum amount of skill points you can have at a time is 5, so if you reach that number, you might as well just click it and use it. Though there are a few characters that don't necessarily rely on their elemental skill to do damage. Also, there are some really cool enemies in this game that can capture your teammates, and if your teammate is captured, then you can't use them until you break the enemy's weakness and free your teammate. And well, if you don't decide to free your teammate, you might find yourself in a little bit of trouble later on. And that's because they can capture more than one teammate. I've had a situation where 3 people on my team got captured, and that was not really fun. By clicking on the top on an enemy's name, you can see what status effects a character has on them. For example, this enemy can revive after I kill him. And you see, that's normally what happens with this type of enemy. I go ahead, I kill him, and then he revives, which is kind of annoying. But it does look like there's going to be some future characters that can debuff enemies, because that skill that revives someone is a buff. And this dude is a guy that can heal and debuff enemies, or well, remove a buff from an enemy. Also, by doing the same thing, you can check to see your own character statuses. For example, right now I have a ban on me. If anyone attacks the character, the Guardian Shadow, then I will take damage for attacking her. I get punished. But I can also just cleanse it off of me since I have Bronya, thankfully, and that will get rid of the effect. So now I can use my normal attacks again. I think it's worth mentioning that this elite can also ban elemental skills, by the way. So a lot of people are probably wondering if there's co-op in this game, and there is, but not exactly in the way you'd expect it to be. It kind of works like Epic 7 or FGO, where you have a support system where you can borrow your friend's characters for farming and a few like world bosses, but you can't like go to their world and hang out. So Honkai Star Rail is kind of like a single player game, but your friends can help you grind artifacts. And it is really helpful. It's called a support system. For example, I loan out my Bronya to my friends so that they can use her, and I get rewarded if people use my character. The fun thing I like to do with the support system is just test out characters to see if I'd really want that character or not later on, and well, just see if I can make some crazy team combinations with them too. Now, one of the best things about Honkai Star Rail is getting to explore different worlds with your new favorite hot anime waifus and husbandos, of course. But without spoiling anything too much about the story, instead of having to travel with one companion who can be annoying or friendly, you got a whole family in the Astral Express team, and I really like the dynamic they have in this game. And they do a pretty good job of connecting you to the characters. For example, when you want to find out what relics are, which are artifacts in this game, they all answer you with a pretty straightforward answer. Also, any character you meet, like the people on the Astral Express crew, you can always see them, you can go and visit them, because they're out in the open world. There are purple quests that also allow you to invite characters to the Astral Express as well. And those quests are worth doing because they also give you Primo Gems, so make sure to do those. Each world has a shop you can use to buy character talent level up materials. You can get currency for the shops by collecting chests in the open world and doing side missions in that world. In Herta's space station, the shop is in the master control zone. In the second world, Border Town has the second shop. As you can see, I have a lot of currency in Border Town because I've done so many missions in this world. You can also buy light cones for weapon XP and get artifacts if you want to. I would say just think of this place as the Grand Narukami Shrine in Genshin. You get lots of rewards for just naturally progressing through the game. And the last shop is in the Central Starkif Haven. And I still gotta explore this place a lot more. The talent tree in this game is very cool. For example, I unlocked a talent on my Bronya that makes it so that now whenever she does an auto attack, she instantly crits. Not all the talents are really big buffs. For example, you got like some small ones where it's just like wind increase by a little bit of percent. But you also have like other ones that are like massive buffs. And you also have the normal stuff, you know, normal attacks, your talents, your skills, your ultimate. You can upgrade your talents by defeating world bosses, normal enemies, and elite enemies. There is also constellations for characters. Basically, if you get a dupe of a character when you're wishing, it becomes a constellation and it's like a small little power increase to that character's power. If you want to unlock relics or artifacts, you're going to need to reach at least Trailblazer level 15 and be a decent way into the main story of the second world. There are these earpiece versions though of relics that can only be gotten after you've beaten Stimulated Universe World 3 and on. And one of the only ways you can claim the reward is by having enough resin to claim it. Also, unlike with Genshin for relics, there's no longer an off-piece because it's two-piece set. For example, on my Danghang, I'm trying to run a speed set. Like I have some speed artifacts, but I don't have enough speed for him yet to even use the set, so it's kind of useless. Here are just a few small things I think are worth mentioning. You can't jump in this game. It's something everyone tries to do, and you can't. There's a lot of puzzles that are built around not jumping, so I know why they wouldn't add it, but it's something we all ask for anyway. Space anchors can be used for fast travel and also to heal your characters if they get low. Trailblaze level is the same as an adventure rank level in Genshin. Instead of Catherine, it's Pom Pom, the express conductor. Equilibrium level is your adventure world level in Genshin. Basically make it so that you fight harder enemies and you get better rewards in the overworld. Each character has a unique phone case, so if you want a character with a specific design, go for it. To my knowledge, there is no PvP yet, which means it's going to be a very casual game. A little less to do, but it's good because I know a lot of people probably don't want PvP, especially in a gacha game. Which reminds me, in terms of endgame, it's going to have the same problem as Genshin. There is no crew or guild system in this game that I've seen so far, but you can lend your characters the supports as I've mentioned before. There are a lot of achievements in the game, just like Genshin. It gives you wishing currency so you can get your favorite characters. The Forgotten Hall is the spiral abyss of this game. Basically it's a challenge room where you compete with the characters you own to get a lot of wishing currency. It's also how I got my first 5-star weapon. The Starlight Exchange Store will probably change, but I kinda hope it doesn't, because right now you can get a 5-star light cone for any of the limited 5 stars if you save up for it. The stimulated universe that I've mentioned quite often is in Herta's office. The game's release date is up in the air. A lot of people were hoping it'd come out March 7th because of March 7th, the character, and then be like a cool connection between the devs and the player base. Rumors say that it's going to come out April 26th, which is March 7th on the lunar calendar New Year. Also, the map is instant space. It's kind of like Persona, where you have like a bunch of small zones and then you go explore it. They can be pretty big or small. And then you go through another loading screen, you go to a next area, etc, etc. Also, everything is subject to change because this is a beta test. If you pre-register for the game right now, you'll also get these rewards up on the screen. But yeah, that's everything I can think of off the top of my head. If I don't remember it, it probably wasn't important. Character designs and music is as flawless as ever right now. All we gotta do is wait and let them cook, so that we get a really good game when it releases. So far I think the game is really fun, it has a lot of content in it, we'll see how far it goes. Anyways guys, I'm gonna go now. Feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, all the good stuff, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.